Well, I'm going to talk to you about one of the best kept secrets in schools today. It's locus of control. From the Latin, locus, from location, from place, from where the seat of something happens, or where the point of existence of something is, comes from Mrs. Shackelford's class. That I remember from Latin. Yes, I'm that old. I had to take Latin, but it wasn't elective, all right? I'm not that old. All right. One of the best kept secrets, locus control. Where did children see their control source coming from? Here's a diagram. This kid sees their control, source of control from here. This is where all the authority comes from. The energy, almost, they think, comes from there. This kid comes from inside. The seat of responsibility is inside. And see, first of all, let me segue over to the word responsibility. Most of us don't like that word down deep because, well, we never heard anybody say it with a smile. You know, I remember my stepdad. I said, "Can we play ball?" He go, "No." I go, "Why not?" He go, "I have to go to work." I go, "Why do you always have to go to work?" "Because I'm responsible. Someday you'll understand. These are the best days of your life." You know what? Thank God he was wrong. So, people would walk around with that word, you know, "Oh, I'm responsible. You have to take responsibility." You know, it was never seen. You know, nobody ever said, "Oh, wow, I get to be responsible. Let's be responsible together." It's we grow up with it as a negative connotation. So now back to locus of control. The schools don't want kids to have an internal locus of control. Schools are based on children kind of sitting there waiting to be told what to do, when to do it, how to do it, because schools are all about control. Am I faulting the schools? Not necessarily. I'm just saying that we started something a long time ago for the good of the children, for the good of society, and the reason we keep doing it is not the reason we started it. And so it's gotten a little wacky, but since it's wacky everywhere, we think it's normal and acceptable. We have a large population of people who don't take responsibility for themselves, who aren't self-initiating, who don't own their energy, you know, where their energy is going. What do I mean by that? Okay, this person, you know, says, "Oh, if I didn't have bad luck, I wouldn't have any luck at all." Or the government's in charge of my life, or he made me do it. Or, well, what can I do? That's what we've always done. Or that's what the law, the policies, the rules, the regulations say. And therefore this person grows up, you know, kind of inside here, waiting to be told what to do, or doing things by habit, or being led, easily led, you know, by someone or something else. On the other side, this person takes initiative, says the source of control, of power, if you will, is inside me. You know, I take responsibility. I start things. I am the one who sustains things once they're started. I am the source of my own energy and power. Well, again, back to schools. How do we expect kids to go from being docile and going along with what we want them to do, because we have this huge herd of children, and if everybody had an internal locus of control, you know, we wouldn't be able to get anything done for the good of the class, so to speak. So we have to be able to teach children, or they need to learn how to go from to like a switch, to be able to say, hey, in this instance, it's good that I have an internal locus of control, and in this instance, it's good that I have an external locus. Example, when I go to the doctor to have an operation, I'm obviously putting a source of power or authority or control in his or her hands. And that's, we call them professionals. These are people you can trust, with your life or your segment of energy that is going on at that time in your life. So that's why we have certification and rules and regulations. It's not to make life hard for people. It's to engender trust that this person is a certified teacher, a licensed physician, a licensed lawyer, and you can relax and let them take the reins for you in a particular situation. So there are times when it's great, healthy, important for people to have an external locus of control. If you're in the military will not work without people having external locus of control or being able to go back and forth. But usually it's, not forth. It's back, being told what to do, when to do it, how to do it. So we want children who are going to go out there and take responsibility. We tell them that every graduation. Every commencement speaker, I swear, says, you are our leaders. You are the future generation, and you're going to take over the world, and, do a good job, would you? But somewhere back down the line, we need to teach kids to take responsibility with a smile, okay? So how do you do that? A little practical tip. When kids get in a fight, and my favorite, kids are in a tussle, arguing over something, and you go up and you say, well, okay, what's going on? Well, he starved it, Yeah, oh. And then we immediately begin to act like Poirot or Sherlock Holmes, like, okay, let's see who started it. And then immediately the kids go into a defensive posture, which is like, I'm not to blame posture, it's all him. So how I got past that was two ways. First of all, I had a philosophy that if a person takes responsibility for something, it should never be a guilt experience. Okay, it should be a learning experience. And so if a kid takes responsibility and then you go, aha, I knew it was, and we use the word fault, it was your fault, then kids have learned very quickly that to take responsibility isn't a good thing. You're going to get blamed. You're going to be probably punished. Certainly you're going to be looked upon as someone who's wrong. So we have to stop punishing kids for taking responsibility for things and encourage it. So how I used to do it, and by the way, I was not a perfect teacher, but so I'm only going to share with you the things I did good, right? I would say to kids who were both doing this, I would say, well, what was your part in it? And they look at me like, what? And I go, well, Jim wasn't fighting himself. That'd look kind of strange, wouldn't it? He was over here wrestling with himself. So you were there, and since he couldn't do it by himself, you must have played a part. So let's just start by describing what part you played in it, And then I used to say, if I had a camera and was taking pictures, what would I have seen you doing? Now I have to be careful here, not to do the aha thing. Aha, see? And of course there are consequences or punishment, if you want to call it that, for behaviors that are harmful. But it can't be seen as children are generalists. They make everything literal. For example, and this, they use the word fair all the time. Why do you let him always lead us down to lunch? Why don't I get to? Then the teachers suddenly in an external locus control situation has to figure a reason why she or he's made that decision. So we go like, well, he's a good boy, or you'll get your turn someday, or whatever. Instead of us taking responsibility, go, because I chose him to do it. Period. End of story. No. Or, wow, this time you got 10% better than last time. How's that feel? Because the internal locus of control is rewarded by feelings. It feels good to go out and rake Mrs. Smith's, the little old lady next door, to rake her leaves without being asked. is not to get, oh, somebody give you $5, but because it feels good inside. Again, what we as adults pay attention to is the same as pouring, nourishment onto something. Kids live for it. They may not admit it, but that's the way it is. And we're kind of all kids, aren't we? What people pay attention to in us is what grows. What we focus on expands. And if we focus on kids taking charge of their lives, taking responsibility, noticing they have an internal locus of control,